Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is June 25th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see we got a mess of clouds out here across the Gulf of Alaska, kind of keeping this troughing going. We got the onshore flow over the next few days, but as we go through this weekend, we are going to start to build a ridge of high pressure here across the region. We're going to dry things out, warm things up, but we'll take a look at what kind of precipitation amounts we're going to get in the meantime. We'll take a look at the extended forecast and see what is to come as we start to head towards the 4th of July. So looking at yesterday, I want to back this all the way up through the day yesterday and watch the Oregon Cascades. You can see largely cloud-free as we went through the morning hours, but watch some of these cumulus clouds. See them building right there along the crest of the Cascades. And then you can see we developed some cumulonimbus clouds, and we got some of that lightning activity there. It started to kick off some lightning. These two storms were pretty prolific lightning producers there. You can kind of see that moving across the east slopes of the mountains there for Oregon. And then you can kind of see the clouds extending across the region. We did get a few strikes there across some of the North Cascades, Washington, Canada border, British Columbia there as well. And then we scroll on in towards this morning and kind of see that marine layer is in charge right now across a lot of the Willamette Valley, western Washington. You got the onshore flow and a little bit of precipitation coming in here today. So you can see some of the lightning strikes there that were associated with those storms there in British Columbia, better amounts of that lightning activity there yesterday. And if you want your own affordable home weather station, click on that link down below. This thing is very fun. Haptic rain gauge. It's got a lightning detection. It's all solar powered. You set it up and it hooks up to a little tiny module in your house, and it broadcasts all over the internet if you want on your smartphone. You read it anywhere you go, and very fun. I'm testing 2 of these at my house. You won't regret buying this. Click on the link down below to save 10%. Now, taking a look here at Yakima, Washington, I wanted to point this out. Look at this departure from normal, 4 degrees above average so far for the month of June. Only 0.02 of an inch of precipitation. And look at that, 103 back there on June 9th. This is Hoquiam Airport, negative 0.6. So just slightly below normal as far as temperature is concerned. And not much precipitation overall, but we did get 0.37 of an inch on June 21st. Now, looking at thunderstorms today, northeast Oregon, northeast Washington, British Columbia, out Panhandle, and western Montana. This does not include Seattle or Portland on the day today or tomorrow. As you can see, that threat moves off to the east a little bit there. There is a wind threat with some of those thunderstorms across northeast Montana. Now, looking at the wider view of things here, there's the Hawaiian Islands, the bottom left. There's the Pacific Northwest to the upper right. I'll put this into motion. And again, you can kind of see that onshore flow. You got the lowered heights across the Gulf of Alaska, and you've got this, zonal flow here across the region. But then watch what happens as we start to go through the day on Friday. Notice that ridge start to get established off the coast, west coast of North America. As we go through Saturday, the ridge really gets ramped up here, and then we start to warm things up as we go through this weekend and the early portion of next week. You can see the troughing well out across the Pacific Ocean, north of the Hawaiian Islands and the Gulf of Alaska there. And then we scroll off into the future a little bit more, right towards the end of the run. You can kind of see that troughing again with the ridge. It's going to keep temperatures elevated a little bit here across the region as we go through next week. So 850 millibars, about 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere. You can see the ridge out over the Pacific Ocean here, onshore flow for the next few days. You see these westerlies coming across the region. But as we go through this week, and I'm going to show you what's going to happen here. So we go through the day Friday, still see the onshore flow, the westerlies coming across the Cascade Mountains there, for example. And then we go on through Saturday, and you see still the westerlies showing up there a bit as we go through Saturday evening. But as we go through Sunday morning, you notice the winds kind of cut off, and we start to reverse that flow a little bit there. There's that offshore flow. It's going to allow things to warm up here across the region. These are now easterlies, northeasterlies here across portions of Oregon by the time we go into Sunday afternoon, into Sunday night, into Monday there, as we really get this ridge established. A little bit of a thermal trough moving up the coastline. I'll show you what I mean by that here in a moment. And then we go on in towards next week here. We're going to relax. The ridge is going to relax a little bit here, but it's still not, we're not going to bring that onshore flow in strong enough to really cool things down too much. I'll show you the temperatures here in a bit as well. So looking at mean sea level pressure. This is what's going on here at the surface. And as we go on in through these next couple of days, you see as we go through Saturday, look at the ridge building, the above normal heights and higher pressure start to build across the area. And in turn, you get this very subtle feature known as a thermal trough. We turn those winds just ever so slightly offshore, and that allows us to warm up. So this is the evolution of every single heat wave that hits the Pacific Northwest, at least in the summertime, unless you want to take into relative accounts for warmer weather in the winter and things like that. This is generally what brings us our heat wave activity here as we go through the summer months. And you can kind of see this thermal trough move up the coastline, again, the offshore winds. And once this thermal trough kicks inland, then we start to bring the onshore flow, a marine push that starts to cool things down a bit. But again, you can kind of look at that and you can see it's not a big signal. It's not like this is the big deep low pressure center. It's just slightly lower pressure than the interior areas. And again, with that offshore flow. And then we scroll on in towards the early portion of next week and kind of see that thermal trough position itself a little bit further inland there. So it's not going to allow us to truly warm up. This is not a giant heat wave coming or anything like that. We're not going to be setting any widespread records by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a little example of a thermal trough coming up here as we go through this weekend. Now, if we look at 5,000 feet, 150 millibars, and the temperature is aloft, there goes our onshore flow as we go through the day today into tomorrow on Thursday. Friday, it continues. And then you can kind of see the temperature start to warm aloft as you go through Saturday night into Sunday morning. And again, that offshore flow starts to get established, and you can clearly see things warming up as we go through the end of the weekend and on in through the early portion of next week. Now, precipitation for Seattle and Portland, we're not talking about a lot here over the next few days, maybe just enough to wet the ground, but you're looking at a little bit better amounts Seattle northward towards British Columbia. I'll show you more on that here in a moment. We can kind of see these systems are fairly weak as we go through today, Thursday, and on through Friday. And I scrolled all the way out towards Monday night. You see Seattle 0.05 of an inch, something similar for Portland as well. But once you get above, or not above, but north of Seattle there for maybe Everett, Marysville, Bellingham, Southwest BC, you're picking up some better amounts with these couple of systems. And also across some of the higher terrain of the North Cascades, if you're out there camping, watch out for that. And you might get, 1/3 of an inch here for, it looks like the Central Cascades of Washington as well. So I'm going to scroll backwards in time here. Now we're going to go through the day today. You see for today, it shows Seattle with just 1/100 of an inch, something similar there for Portland. But as we scroll on in through the day on Thursday night, you start to see some of this rain for Bellingham, maybe up towards Arlington or Marysville, Southwest BC, North Cascades, picking up a little bit of precipitation with that. And you see Seattle getting just clipped by that system. A few more hundredths of an inch falling as we go through the day Friday. Then we go towards the weekend where we're going to start to dry things out. Looks like maybe some thunderstorm activity here. I'll have to watch that as we go through the day Monday. Now, taking a look at daily 2-meter max temperature. Seattle today, 70. This is Wednesday, June 25th. And you can see east portions, there are some 80s out there, maybe into the lower 90s for Boise. We go to tomorrow, Seattle only 67, Portland low 70s. Friday, Saturday, we start to warm those temperatures back up a bit there. And then we go to Sunday. Look at that, Seattle up towards 80 degrees, Portland towards 90 here. And then you start to warm things up east of the mountains as well. And then by Monday, look at that, some hundreds showing up for the Tri-Cities and getting quite warm out there across many areas east of the Cascades. Look at that, 83 degrees for Seattle on Monday, probably into the 90s for most of the Willamette Valley, Southwest BC, 85. But if you go off towards the coastline there, of course, you can beat the heat. So maybe not a bad day to get out there if you want, if you're a mossback and you want to beat that heat. Now, taking a look at Tuesday, there's 82 for Seattle, but you can kind of see the temperatures don't cool off too quickly here. So no big marine push in the wake. And then we've got an interesting trough that's showing up off the coastline. But how close will that get to the Pacific Northwest as we go on in through the July 4th timeframe? That is a good question right now. National Blend of Models not showing us with much of a cool down, so probably not a lot of precipitation. The odds-on favorite right now, but I'll show you what I mean here, starting actually right now. The European Artificial Intelligence on the left versus the GFS on the right. We're going to look off into the extended forecast now. So we got the onshore flow pretty well established. It's going to be happening over the next couple of days. Then the ridge builds, pretty good model confidence with that also as we go through this weekend, early portion of next week. Now we're just watching to see what these troughs do. And you see the disagreement start to emerge here as we go out over, a week off into the forecast. GFS wants to keep that ridging. The European Artificial Intelligence wants to keep this trough much closer to western British Columbia, which would be introducing clouds and whatnot, and maybe some precipitation into the area. So here we go through the 4th of July. Right there is about when the fireworks would be happening. So you see the big differences between what's going on in the GFS on the right and the European Artificial Intelligence on the left. This would probably be bringing some wet weather towards the Pacific Northwest. But again, a lot of time to work that out. You're looking 8, 9, 10 days off into the future right now. So 6 to 10 day above normal temperatures here as we go through July 4th. And then you can see this 6 to 10 day. I take that with a grain of salt, definitely. This is probably due to some thunderstorm activity here, but we'll continue to monitor monitor this on a daily basis as we go on through the early portion of July. And if you missed this yesterday, this was issued June 19th. There was a monthly temperature outlook issued for July, clearly above average signal for much of the west coast of North America, and that below normal signal for virtually all the entire Pacific Northwest. And the 3 to 4 week temperature outlook, this is from July 5th through July 18th, again issued on June 20th. And again, that above normal and below normal signal exists for precipitation. And if you want to go to the Patreon page here, it's free to sign up. You guys can send me some of your weather images in the community tab. And this gives you nice updates here of when I release my daily videos. It's also a good way to support the channel if you feel so inclined. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, click like and subscribe. We will do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.